At 5 o'clock, I want to welcome you to the Sherman City Council meeting. And I'm going to ask Deputy Mayor Howlett if she'll lead us in the pledge and invocation.
If you'd please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd bow your heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight on the eve of doing business for our wonderful citizens in our beautiful city of Sherman. We ask that you guide us and provide us the opportunity to serve our citizens in such a way that would be pleasing to you and will bring prosperity and happiness to the citizens of Sherman. In your heavenly name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Council, we have minutes from the regular City Council meeting of August 20th. Have you had an opportunity to look over those?
Move to approve the minutes.
Second?
All right, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we have a couple of proclamations today. We've got one from National Recovery Month. Sean, if you'll read that for us.
Sure.
And ask them to come forward.
Do we have Amber Denny or Anna Arrington here this afternoon? If you would come on up. And we will read your proclamation. Whereas behavioral health is an essential part of one's overall health and wellness, and whereas prevention of substance use disorders works, treatment is effective, and people recover in Sherman, Texas, and around the nation, and whereas preventing and overcoming substance use disorders is essential to achieving healthy lifestyles and purposefully contributing to our community, and whereas we must encourage all citizens in Sherman to recognize the signs of a substance use problem, to implement preventative measures through education, community awareness, and guide those in need to appropriate treatment and recovery support services. And whereas citizens of all ages, genders, socioeconomic classes, and ethnicities in Sherman, Texas are affected by substance use disorders, and whereas to help more people achieve and sustain long-term recovery, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, and Texoma Community Center's Substance Use Treatment Program invite all residents of Sherman, Texas to participate in National Recovery Month. Now, therefore, I, Sean Tiemann, on behalf of David Plyler, Mayor of the City of Sherman of Texas, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim September 2018 as National Recovery Month in the City of Sherman, and call upon the people of Sherman to observe this month with the compassion for those suffering, dignity, and respect for people seeking treatment and professionals providing treatment, attention to the needs of our friends, families, and colleagues, and referrals to substance use treatment when needed. So thank you guys very much. If you'd like to say a few words.
Texoma Community Center just would like to thank you guys for recognizing September as Recovery Month and allowing us to provide as many services to those struggling with substance use in our community as possible. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, we have another proclamation for Constitution Week. Deputy Mayor will read that at this time.
Ms. McCormick and Ms. Miller, all righty. Whereas the Constitution of the United States, the guardian of our liberties, embodies the principles of limited government and a republic dedicated to rule by law, and whereas September 17th, 2018, marks the 231st anniversary of the framing of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebration which will commemorate it, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 16th through the 22nd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, I, Pam Houth, on behalf of Mayor David Plyler of the City of Sherman, Texas, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim September the 16th through the 22nd, 2018, Constitution Week in the City of Sherman, and ask all citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to each of us through this guardian of our liberties. In witness wherefore I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Sherman to be affixed to this, the 4th day of September, 2018. And we'll allow you to say a few words if you would like to. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. On this behalf of Preston Trail Chapter NSDAR, Daughters of the American Revolution, we thank you for presenting us with the proclamation of the Constitution Week. Thank you.
And they also told me that on the 17th, in the courthouse, is it okay if I, all righty? Yes, in the courthouse, in the West courtroom, they will be reading the Constitution from start to finish, and invited all the members of the City Council or staff or citizens to come and join in. And I believe you said 1:30, and there will be a bell ringing at 3. At 1:30, and they think they can read it by 3. Okay? So please feel free to come.
All right, so thank y'all. Okay, at this time, we're going to open public hearing. Linda, if you'll read C1 for us, please.
Ordinance 6145, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman providing for the levy of ad valorem taxes for the City of Sherman, Texas for the tax year 2018, distributing the same among the various funds, providing for a penalty and interest for failure to pay the taxes levied within the time provided by law, providing for a repealer, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Thank you, Linda. The City Council will consider the adoption of the tax rate ordinance at the regular meeting scheduled for 5 p.m. on Monday, September 17th, 2018, at Sherman City Hall, 220 West Mulberry Street, Sherman, Texas. Mary?
This is the second of 2 public hearings required by law that must be held before a tax rate can be adopted. The proposed rate is the same as the current rate of .4273 per $100. And council action is set for September 17th.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Okay. Linda, if you'll read C2 for us, please.
Ordinance 6147, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman approving a negotiated settlement between the Atmos Cities Steering Committee, ACSC, and Atmos Energy Corporation Mid-Tex Division regarding the company's 2018 rate review mechanism filings, declaring existing rates to be unreasonable, adopting tariffs that reflect rate adjustments consistent with the negotiated settlement, finding the rates to be set by the settlement tariffs to be just and reasonable and in the public interest, approving an attached exhibit establishing a benchmark for pensions and retiree medical benefits, approving an attached exhibit regarding amortization of regulators' liability, requiring the company to reimburse ACSC's reasonable rate-making expenses, providing for a repealer, providing for severability, declaring an effective date, requiring delivery of this ordinance to the company and the ACSC's legal counsel, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Brandon?
Yes, back in April, the Atmos filed a rate request to try to recover a claimed $42 million in additional revenues to cover its costs last year. This ordinance today represents the negotiated settlement of the Atmos Steering Committee legal counsel with Atmos's legal counsel for a system-wide increase of $24.9 million.
Okay. Thank you, Brandon. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Okay. Not. Linda, if you'll read C3 for us, please.
Ordinance 6148, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Chapter 9 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Personnel, Article 9.05, entitled Civil Service for Firefighters and Police Officers, at Section 9.05.026, entitled Authorized Number of Positions, to revise the number of authorized positions in the fire and police departments, providing for inclusion in the Code of Ordinances, providing for severability, providing for a repealer, finding that the meeting at which this ordinance is passed was noticed and is open to the public as required by law.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Robbie?
Yes, so this is the annual ordinance that we bring to you to authorize the number of fire and police officers that we have. We're requesting an increase in each of those categories. So, and I have to say, the ordinance that's in your packet has changed, and I think you were given a corrected, not corrected, but updated version of that. When the ordinance was drafted, it was let go of Thursday. And Friday, we received notice that we did get the grant, the SAFER grant, that's going to pay for the vast majority of our 6 firefighters that we'll be adding. So if you are inclined to approve this when the time comes, I would ask you to approve it subject to the changes of the ordinance that were provided to you tonight, not what was in the packet. So that is 6 additional firefighters that we're requesting. On the police side, the number that we're requesting is 5 additional, although we really only budgeted for 1 additional police officer, certified officer, and so that's all that's in the budget. Where the number 5 comes from instead of just 1 is there is some uncertainty about how quickly the school district wants to ramp up their SRO program, and they will make those decisions before this time next year. So we would need to, so asking for more officers would allow us to respond to an increased SRO need if they decide to do that. And that has been their plan. We don't know if that will be their plan at this time next year, but they've mentioned that. So we wanted to include some additional officers for that standpoint. And then secondly, just from a flexibility standpoint, occasionally when we have officers that either retire or leave service, we have to test. And sometimes the number of officers that we get back up to is slightly more than our baseline for a short period of time, because we do have just outward migration of employees in the police department. So it allows us some flexibility. Our intent is to hire only 1 employee additional through our budget, but this gives us some flexibility in the numbers so that we don't have to come back to you at a future date on the number side of things. And yeah, those were the only things to highlight on that.
Okay. All right, is there anyone here to address item C3 this evening? Okay. If not, we will close public hearing and consider the adoption of the ordinances. Council, any questions?
Nothing on this end, Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the ordinances as written.
Second.
Okay.
Should we, do we need to phrase 3 differently, C3 differently? Or did that cover it?
With the
That
modification.
did cover it, because that is how it's written now. So
Okay.
that covers
All right,
it.
very good.
The current one is how it's written now?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we are to the consent agenda. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted in one motion without discussion unless a council member or a citizen requests a specific item be discussed and voted on separately. The consent agenda includes items D2, D3, D5, D6, D7, D8, E2, F2, and F3. Is there anyone present who would like to separate any of these items for any reason? No? If
Move
not,
to approve the consent agenda as written.
okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, we're down to Resolution 6399. Linda, if you'll read that for us.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman amending Resolution Number 6063 to expand the membership of the Sherman Main Street Advisory Committee. finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed was open to the public as required by law.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Nate?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Counselor, this is something that's been in the works now for quite a long time. Counselor Holland, who serves as the ex officio member of the council on this committee, and I have been working on it, as well as Sherry Little, who's our board president, and we have a couple other board members here, David Gunn, Verna Morneau, of course, Sarah McCray, our great tourism and Main Street manager. I think that's everybody who's here, I think. Did I miss somebody? Oh, Karen. Great. Karen Tooley, of course, head of Sherman Downtown now. She is the other ex officio member on that committee. Essentially, what has transpired over the course of the past 2 years is that the Sherman Main Street Committee has expanded its vision and what it tries to do. It has overtaken the management or co-management of several of our biggest events, including Mardi Gras, Trick or Treat on Travis Street, Christmas in July, and the Imagine the Possibilities Tour, which highlights vacant available buildings downtown for purchasing and renting. And then, of course, they were also instrumental in bringing the Jumpstart the Heart initiative a couple years ago as well. So it's a committee that started from scratch, and it has really expanded what it tries to do for our downtown over the course of the past couple of years. One of the things moving forward that the committee would like is more manpower, essentially. This is because it is a committee that is focused very much so on events and promotion in downtown. The idea is that the more people that we can get who are interested in those things, who have vested interest in downtown and seeing it succeed, the more successful the committee can be. So that's why we're asking you to expand its membership from 6 voting members to 10. So that would give us 10 voting members plus the 2 ex officio members moving forward. So we would ask that you would grant that request and that you would appoint the 4 individuals whose applications are there before you to fill those vacant seats. And of course, we do have Sarah and Sherry here if we have any other questions as well.
Okay. Council, any questions?
I can support the need of the extra folks to go on that board due to the fact that all of the work that they do and the turnover for the board also. A lot of us that was on that board now, most of us have trickled off, and the original information that we gathered from that board needs to try to stay in there as much as we can. So I don't know how much time Sherry has and Mr. Gunn. It's just going to be a pretty high turnover. So I think I can support us raising the number from 6 to 10. 6 to 10. It's well needed.
Okay.
I have a question, because I did not see it in the packet, and that is there a rotation off? You mentioned that people be going off. How long do you serve before you rotate off, and is it,
Yes, Councilwoman, there's a 2-year term limits on each member. So right now, we'd ask that you would appoint all 4 of those individuals to 2-year terms, which would then make them the most junior members on the committee.
end up causing like a whole group of them going off all at one time, and
Well-
therefore, that's what I'm asking.
That is something that I looked at. We were trying to decide if we wanted to do staggered terms with this group, but because the other members of the committee are already staggered pretty well, it makes sense to just go ahead and do everyone at once.
I make a motion that we increase from 6 to 10.
I'll second.
Okay.
Do they need it?
And those,
Individuals?
Yeah, we need to nominate the individuals.
Oh, and nominate the individuals.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Nate.
Thanks,
All
Nate.
right. We're down to Resolution 6402. Linda, if you'll read that for us, please.
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Sherman authorizing the acceptance of a conveyance document from Panda Sherman Power LLC for the conveyance and acquisition of right-of-way for West Travis Street, Phase 3, being 5.2933 acres of land in the Elizabeth Jones Survey, abstract number 625, being more particularly described in the Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof for all purposes. Property being located in the City of Sherman, County of Grayson, State of Texas. Finding that the meeting at which this resolution is passed is open to the public as required by law.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Robbie?
Yes, so this is a tract of land that we need to do Phase 3 of West Travis Street. So you can see up there on the board or on the projector, it's the section just east of Moore, where the current alignment of Moore, so just east of the high school site. So this is a little over 5 acres. So the purchase price has been agreed upon, and we did got an appraisal on this, and so they've agreed to a sales price of about $58,000, and then also in the process we've got to replace a fence that will need to be moved back. That's a long stretch of fence as well, and so we're committing to do that as well. So purchase price of 58 plus repair or replace the fence that is going to have to be moved, and that is it.
All right, council, any questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I move to accept.
Okay,
Second?
motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you. All right, we're down to E1. Change order.
So somebody's gonna have to ask questions for him.
I'm sitting in his chair, I can channel him.
All right, E1, approving a comprehensive change order of $77,836.37 for the Sherman Public Library renovation project, Smolt Construction Incorporated, as construction manager at risk. Steve.
Right, so this relates to our renovation of the library, which we've completed. We're just kind of tying up the loose ends on completing that project. Going into this project, we knew this was a 45-year-old structure, was also a burnout because of arson. With that, we included a 3% contingency in our budget for those unknowns, which we're going into this, you could assume, with a 45-year-old building that was burnt out, that there's going to be some things that are going to come up that you don't know until you tear into the building. With this change order, some of the significant pieces of that were mitigating asbestos that we found once we tore into the building. We elected to upgrade some technology and security issues. I think the arson kind of brought to light some things we wanted to do as far as security for the building. We elected to go ahead and do that now during the project. That would have been a piece of it. We found that some of the aging infrastructure, such as water, sewer, electric, once you tore into the building, rather than put a Band-Aid on some things, because of the age, we chose to go ahead and upgrade. So we went in with a 3% contingency for these issues. We ended up at 3.7% contingency. We went over by 0.7%, which I felt as a project manager, I thought that was pretty good considering it was a 45-year-old building. And we ended up at 3.7%, which was the change orders for $77,000, which was $14,000 more than what we had in our budget.
And that's it.
That's it.
Okay. Council, any questions?
So the bulk of this $77,000 is changes that we requested?
It's yes, out of necessity, some of them, such as asbestos and some of the utility stuff, it just had to do it. Some things we elected, such as some of the upgrades, like technology and stuff, we chose. It was just the right time, like the security type stuff. So some of it was things that we elected. It was the right time and the right thing to do.
Any of that, could we recapture any of that through any of the initial insurance process that we got? Can we try to get, or did we try to, or can we get?
So
Because some of that was insurance money.
Yeah, we
after
did get an insurance settlement that was about
About 160.
$160,000. That was netted against our, project costs, so.
Just didn't know if any of these change orders were stuff
Oh,
that we
I
found
got
during
you.
the process, if we could recapture any of that, or if we did.
No.
Okay.
No, they were not.
Speaking for Willie, I don't think that, I hate to see an increase in these change orders, but I will say from experience that 3.7% on a project that size is below standard for what the industry a lot of times happens. So I think overall we did a good job on that.
So our total over budget cost was $14,000?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, I move to approve, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. All right, motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Second. Okay.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, at this time, we'll receive an update from Public Works Manager Kevin Winkler on the city's bulk waste program. Yeah.
From your direction at the budget workshop meeting, I'm going to bring a short, brief kind of recap of the bulk waste program that we've been utilizing for the last 10 years. Overall, we feel like the program is serving its purpose and creating a lot of what would otherwise be trash in the street that we deal with significantly all the time as it is, but I believe it would be much worse if we didn't have this program. Over the last year, Michael helped me on some of these numbers. We collected 1,618 tons of bulk waste from that program, which amounted to 15,720 collections, or an average of 328 collections per week. To give you an idea, over the same amount of time, we collected 11,267 tons of residential trash. And so over the course of a year, that program from just the bulk waste is taking about what would be equal to about 2 months of residential trash if you picked up or looked at that number for the total city for 2 months. During that same period of time, as part of that program, we collected the 14,160 cubic yards of brush, and as it shows, 10,640 stops, or approximately 222 collections per week. So there is a significant use of the program. The existing guidelines that we've been using for the last somewhat 10 years of the program, and what people have been told is that they get a once-a-month pickup per quadrant. We start in the southeast and go clockwise one quadrant per week. And the fifth Mondays, we have off weeks to try to catch up on any areas that we may be lacking. Also, the guidelines are approximately 5 cubic yards of bulk waste per week or per pickup, and 10 cubic yards of brush are allowed. The items can be placed at the curb currently, beginning at 7 a.m. per the guidelines of the Saturday prior to the week that your pickup is scheduled for. The bulk and brush must be separated. The current charge for out of compliance is $28 a cubic yard. That's been in place for quite some time, and to be honest, I don't really have a good number as to how that actual number came about, so we're going to revisit that number. No tires, concrete, shingles, liquids, batteries, dirt and rock, or cross ties is part of the initial guidelines as well. Some of the issues that we're dealing with, and I think a lot of comments that have been made over the years, items being placed out of schedule, either too early or too late. I don't think anybody complains from the council much about them being sent out too late, but we deal with a lot of situations where people actually set them out late. Waste and brush cubic yard limits not adhered to, wasted brush being mixed. We do pick those up with separate trucks and separate loads because they're going to completely different, stops at the end. So it's very helpful if those are placed separately. Items blocked, people leave their cars parked in front of them or place them near a telephone pole or under guideline wires or whatever the case may be. A lot of times the items are blocked. Items being placed at the curb that are not allowed, liquids and those items that are included in that list are a few of the things that people predominantly will set out there that are not part of the the actual items allowed.
Hey, Kevin, let me jump in here too and say, with regard to the issues that we're having, so we've had some conversations with some of the council members and valid points about the what the implications are of having trash that's set out too early or too late. If it's 12 hours too early, maybe not a big deal. If it's 2 weeks too early, that's a big deal. Or if it's 2 days too late, that's a big deal because that 2 days turns into 28 days because it sits there until their Monday rolls around of the next month. So one of the things that, and we were looking at this, that we were trying to focus on is how do we strongly encourage compliance so that those folks set it out only when they're supposed to, number one. Number two, for those that are in non-compliance, how do we handle that? And then number three, can we give some options for those that are out of non-compliance? And so with the overarching goal that we've heard from the council over the last year or two about cleaning up the city, we just went through the budget process, hired more staffing, dedicated more resources towards cleaning up the city. This is one aspect of cleaning up the city that, yeah, it's not trash, junk, and debris that's in the middle of someone's yard per se, but it is trash, junk, and debris that gets set at the curb at the wrong time, and it's hard to, it creates the same image, even though we have a program to take care of it. So I think, you know, the solutions that Kevin's going to go over here address all of those issues that we talked about, and we'll be willing to make adjustments to those if these don't work. But that was the basis for us wanting to come back and let you know not just how much the program is being used, but how do we address these issues that are creating an unclean environment for us in a way that's effective and on par with what other cities are doing. So I think you'll find this next slide of what he's talking about addresses all of those concerns, and we can talk about them because I want to make sure that the council is on board with what we're proposing.
And we did look at about 10 other cities, looked extensively at cities that had these kind of programs, what they charged, how they did it, what their rules were. Michael even went to Plano and visited with them extensively because theirs is most like our program, which is kind of how we're mirroring ours, these guidelines that we're looking at. And to reiterate one of the things that Robbie said about somebody setting something out 2 days late could turn into 28 days, or it could turn in for them, maybe if it's at Preston Club or if it's somewhere extensive, you know, you're looking at a 25-mile round trip just to go pick that up. So something that you would have got in your normal routine could turn into an hour and a half extra for a single trip just to get a small amount of trash. We would like to begin monitoring out of compliance set-outs and notify residents immediately when found. And give them an opportunity. If not removed within 24 hours, we would schedule a pickup of through our system and place the charge on the customer's water bill. The pile would be assessed by a code enforcement person and sized and amount would be placed on the bill. I would also like us to consider allowing the set-out time to include Friday prior to pickup. Currently, it's Saturday, which only gives somebody Saturday and Sunday to put it out. And there are a lot of residents who work weekends. Some of them work predominantly all weekends. And so I think it would be good if we're going to be meticulous about holding them to the line of what these rules are, that we maybe consider doing that. We would like to implement video cameras on the bulk trucks to monitor these routes. That takes whether something was set out at the right time or not out of the picture, as well as whether it was mixed or whether it was this or that. There's just a lot of times that we just go ahead and take care of it because it's just the right thing to do, but this will help us to hold people's feet to the fire to do it, to follow the rules. begin a 3-month grace period from October to December to educate the residents of changes. We talked about several different ways, as newspaper maybe putting some sort of ad on TV, commercial, just Facebook, social media, any other ways that we can get the word out over this next 3 months, because people have been doing it the same way for a long time. And then finally, effective January, once the 3 months is over with, out of compliance charges would be charged a $100 penalty assessment for the actual violation, and then the $15 per cubic yard for us to remove the items and/or whatever's there. And as I said, we looked at other cities. Their charges currently are $10 to $30, depending on where you are. I also looked at what they charge for their basic service. And there's only one city that currently charges less than we do for basic service, and that's only by 18 cents. Predominantly, we are significantly lower just for our base charge of trash service.
Hey, one of the things too I wanted to mention, so while we're proposing to step up compliance and make it more voluntary, if there are instances of non-compliance, they're given 2 or 3 different ways to come into compliance. It's not, they're not immediately assessed a fine and a fee. They would have several ways to come into compliance. One is they could just take it back to wherever they brought it from, and for the however long until their next pickup. Number 2, we have a drop-off center that is very cheap to go and drop this stuff off, and they could drop that off. It's much cheaper than any of these areas. It's a little bit more trouble because you have to actually load it into your pickup or trailer or whatever, but it is significantly cheaper to do that than this.
$5 a cubic yard.
And then the third way is if they didn't want to take it back to their house or backyard and didn't want to take it to the drop-off center themselves, they could call for a pickup, a special pickup, and then we would go and assess, the same amount of assessment. How big is it? What type of material, et cetera. And they could do it that way. So we're giving them multiple opportunities to come into compliance before this fee and fine would be assessed. So we feel like that's the right thing to do as well.
So I would open it up for any questions concerning the specifics of.
Well, I want to, just so that the citizens understand, we are trying, we understand sometimes people put things out early, but then it sits out there, and we have a lot of people looking at Sherman to move in here, and they're driving around town, and all they see is trash sitting out. They don't understand we have a bulk trash pickup, and maybe somebody put it out late, or they put it out, because I know I've seen my neighbors on my street that the truck's gone by, and the next morning, they've put their bulk out. And it's not really, because some citizens will say, well, you're just trying to get money. No, that's not our goal. We're trying to clean up Sherman, and so that it is a pleasing place to live, and try and get everybody to abide by the rules and all. And so I appreciate that. One thing I might suggest is 10 years ago, when we started this, I think we sent a magnet out announcing which quadrant would be which month, and information. And I know that I kept mine on my refrigerator door for a long time, and I heard of other people. So I don't know how much that magnet cost, but that might be a way to, if it's not.
We still have some of those items. Yes, there's a lot of different. There's brochures. There's this brochure which shows the entire city with the quadrants broke out. There's a lot of information that'll have to be changed.
Yeah.
If we make these changes, but we do have a lot of those items that we can still use.
I just wondered if some of these things like, you'll be assessed a fine and that type of thing, so anyway, all right, thank you, Kevin.
Kevin, I know there used to be a system, and I guess that may be what you're still talking about, where if you had an old TV or something that was out on the curb, you just call in, it was $50, and there was like a set rate on that. Is that still an option? Do we still have that?
We pick those items up as part of the bulk the bulk program. So it's not a
It's just
cost.
assessed at whatever the size is at the time, or, yeah, I mean, if it's a off time.
Is there an on-demand service?
Special pickup.
There's a
Yes,
special pickup.
yes, there is a special pickup. We don't have a lot of, currently, we don't have a tremendous amount of use of that, and it is taxing on our system to do it that way. So we have to charge a little bit more to do it that way, but there is that system that you can call and get a special pickup.
What is the charge for that?
Currently, it's at $28 a cubic yard that I listed up there.
So there are,
It's to make a single trip, because like I said earlier, that trip could be a 25-mile round trip to Preston Club, not just maybe 2 or 3 blocks away. Typically, some of those are extensive, so it takes a lot of time and effort that you're not generating a lot of trash in that trip.
Are there frequent abusers of this program? Serial abusers of our bulk trash pickup program?
Yes.
Do we know who these people are?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Can we keep track of that with that new system?
Yeah.
And can we put a label on their stuff that says, just so you know, next time it's going to cost you a lot of money?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's the point of this 3 months is, we'll be putting door hangers, and I'm hoping that we'll be even able to include, because ultimately the charges will be put on their water bill. And so I'm hoping that we'll be able to even put those on the water bill during this break-in period, just not actually place the charge on there, just say, effective January, this is going to be real.
Yeah, this would have cost you?
Yeah, this would have cost you.
All right, I like that idea.
What do we do about, another one of them that I know you don't pick up is tires. And I see those in empty lots and fields, and I know even the county has trouble with that. What do people do? I know that if I go and get new tires, I have to pay. But what do we do about the tires here in town?
We pick them up, and we have a tire cutting machine. They actually quarter them, and we take them to the landfill.
Okay, I didn't know that. All right.
I didn't know that.
I didn't notice anything on there, and I was just getting into the details. We went with tires, so what about neon light bulbs, just for, or, these type of, fluorescent bulbs?
We have a machine that we use to
Dispose of those?
dispose of those,
Okay.
yes.
Yep, very good. You don't just break them and put them in the trash can?
No.
Okay.
Against the law.
Well, yeah, I would never do that.
Moving right along.
All right. That's right. All right.
okay. Well, we will move forward with this program, and as all other programs go, we'll make tweaks to it. We'll come back probably in a few months after we've initiated the program and give a report on how the changes have gone. So who knows? At that time, it'll be about budget time, maybe. So maybe a budget workshop presentation on the new and improved bulk trash.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, at this time, we are down to citizens' requests. Anyone here to address the council this evening? Okay. No? Media questions? Billy? Okay. Council comments.
We started this
Yes,
thing?
go ahead.
Like I should channel Willie and say something about the at-risk part of Seymour, but I'm not going to. I would like to congratulate the members, the newest members of our downtown committee. So congratulations. I hope you do a great job for us. I would like to just take a minute, since we've been talking about trash pickup. There was a thing that went around on Facebook that I saw, and it was a city employee going above and beyond. And I know those guys, every time I've had a trash issue and I've chased them down the street a couple times, they've always gone out of their way to help me. We have a lot of great employees with the city, and if we have a great city, it's because of them. And that is all I have tonight.
Well, with that note, I'd also like to thank the Sherman Police Department for helping Sherman High School with their canned food drive. I saw on Facebook that a number of our officers went up to Sherman High School and helped load up the cans for the Battle of the Axe. and then deposited them. I don't remember if they said that the fire department was involved in that, but I know I saw a number of police officers. So again, it's our servants going above and beyond what is not really their job to do.
Don't know all the details on it, but I want to commend the fire department on taking care of the fire that could have been a really, really bad fire at the Woodman Circle Home last night, containing that and keeping that under control. There's a lot of individuals, apartment complex and other things out there that did a great job on, and I will speak for Willie. Another thing, since Willie's not here, commending Kevin and the staff. I know it's been a thing that's been on his radar for a little while on getting that stuff, getting that project updated and working on that. That's going to be another good thing for the city.
Yeah, I could, I'm getting to the end of the list here, but I just.
Running out of things.
Running out of things, but no, basically everything they said, and, no. But it really is a neat time to be in Sherman with everything we have going on. It seems like every department in the city is doing something, and they're active, and they're moving towards growing or doing something exciting. And, the SAFER grant that Chief Danny got, I know we've talked about that one other time, but, I just appreciate those initiatives to go out and look for those type of things and then to see it through to the finish line. So that's a really exciting thing. And then also, like Josh said, I believe Chris Bartley was that the gentleman, and I know he's not the only one that does things very similar to that, but he was, had some publicity this week for that. And, I think as a city, just all of our staff go up and beyond the call of duty. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate you guys, because you make our job so much easier.
I want to commend the city of Sherman for flying the flag at half-staff for the senator that passed away. I looked around and saw certain areas in the community that I thought this should have already happened, and we led the way on that. I just want to thank you guys, and it's great being able to work along with folks that think ahead. That's just tremendous. That's just a great thought process to be able to go across and put that, put the flags out and at half-staff like that. And then everyone else's flags start to go down. So we're not only working hard with trendsetters as well.
Thank you. All right, we've got a few announcements. Please be sure and make it out to Night Furniture this Friday for Coffee with the Mayor. We'll be joined by Aaron Warner of McKinney's Main Street program. Aaron will fill us in on some of the interesting things they've done to solidify their downtown. So I really hope you can make it out. That's Friday at 8 a.m. at Night Furniture. Sherman's annual Arts Fest is right around the corner. Hundreds of vendors, great local musicians, tons of kids' activities. This year's event will be held on Saturday, September 15th, right across the street here at Kid Key Park. So make plans to join us for this great festival. And on Friday, September 28th, we'll be welcoming George Strait's personal songwriter, Dean Dillon, to Kid Key Auditorium for the Blue Sky Storytellers Gathering. Dean and several other great Texas songwriters will take the stage to benefit the Sherman Police and Fire Association. So please go online and reserve your seat. That's at Outhouse Tickets, right? That's right. And then on October 6th this year, Sherman Downtown Now will once again host their annual Stroll on the Square and Texoma's Best Bite event in historic downtown Sherman, sponsored in part by our great Sherman Main Street program. Tickets are going fast. Be sure to get yours before it's too late. All right, at this time, the council will now hold a closed executive session pursuant to the Texas Open Meetings Act at Section 551.071 to consult with the city attorney concerning pending or contemplated litigation and on a matter in which city's attorney's duty under the Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter, at Section 551.074 to discuss personnel matters, and at Section 551.087 to deliberate regarding economic development negotiations. So at 5:50, we'll recess into executive session. Thank you.